winter in any part of the world brings problems with keeping your fish warm. And also there's the problem of having the correct root zone temperature for your plants. And of course we know that's around about 23, 24 degrees C. So how do you keep the water warm? Now look, I can tell you over the last 10 years I've experimented with all kinds of things to try and find cheap, economical ways to keep the water warm. First of all, I decided I'd build a rocket stove. You know, you get on the internet and you can see all sorts of stuff about rocket stoves. And, you know, they're a great solution, I can tell you. But what happened to me is, and you can see the remnants of my rocket stove here in the greenhouse, where I spent a whole lot of money on putting up a proper chimney or a flue, whatever you want to call it. And I built this wonderful rocket stove out of an old gas bottle. You know, a very big gas bottle, cut it all down, welded it all up, did all the right things. And it worked really well, except for one thing. I discovered that I had to get up every hour and a half all through the night and put wood on the darn thing. And of course that didn't last very long, exactly 2 nights I can tell you. And after that, no more rocket stove. So then we decided we'd move to gas. So we got an instant gas hot water system, which you can buy at plumbing supply shops. We hooked up an electric motor to it to pump water through it, governed by a thermostat, so it would switch on when the temperature reached a particular low point we'd set it to, and then it would switch off when it got to a high point. Now that worked, I've got to say, extremely efficiently. It worked very, very well, except the cost of gas was just too much. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So then I moved to thinking about planning for geothermal. In other words, let's dig a big trench, put 800 metres of pipe in it and pump the water through there. Now, honestly, I believe that that's the ultimate solution. Because many people send me emails and they say, what about solar heating? Let's heat the water with solar. Well, that's a great idea too, but the only trouble with that is we tried it. We put 300 or 400 metres of pipe up on the shed roof and we were able to raise the water temperature 3 or 4 degrees C, no problem during the bright sunny days. But the trouble is the big cold comes at night when the temperature really drops, and the solar heating is of no use to you then, no use at all. So what you need is something that will keep the water stable, a stable temperature, and will deliver you heat during the night that doesn't cost very much. Now I have to tell you, unfortunately, the last couple of winters I've been using electric heating, and man, that has sent our power bill into orbit. It's just no good. It costs too much. And I'm on a mission to get off grid anyway, so I'm certainly not going to be able to heat electrically off battery banks. It's just not practical. It doesn't make any sense. So hence we came across the idea, and it's not a new idea, I didn't think this up first, but the idea of heating using compost. Now many of you might not know how that works, but compost, and look at this, we've got a great big bunch of it here, of material, and this is called green waste. And look, I sold some plant sets to a guy a few weeks ago, and when I asked him what he did for a living, he said, well, he's got this giant machine, it's a big machine, got over $1 million invested in this massive machine that will reduce trees this size down to just pulp like this. And so he's got a contract with the Brisbane City Council and other councils in the area to go around and mulch up all their green waste. And he said to me, would you like a load of it? And I said, oh, I'd love a load of it. Thought I could put it on the garden, do something with it. And I forgot all about it, but next thing he turns up with a truck last Thursday and dumps on my front lawn up here about 30 cubic metres, or that would be about 33, 34 cubic yards of this material. Just have a look at it. Now this is all munched up green waste, which could be palm fronds or lawn clippings or bits of trees or all kinds of stuff. You can see there's hunks of wood in amongst it. There's all sorts of stuff. Look, there's a bit of a palm tree, and of course the grass, and some of it's quite fine material. Now, many of you may not know, but with moisture added to material like this, bacterial action starts in the process, the natural process of breaking this down and returning it back to soil. Composting, it's well known. People know about composting, particularly if you're a permie, you know about composting. But composting in this way is probably not so well known, because if you're going to try and make a garden out of this, you'd find that it's going to be a pretty coarse old garden. But eventually it'll break down into some beautiful stuff. But the heat it generates is incredible. Now, I got this idea to use this material, put a coil of stuff in it. You can see the shots we've taken of it there. Put a coil of pipe in it and pass the water through the pipe and heat it up purely by composting. Now, once I get over the initial outlay of the pipe and the pump and all those other kinds of things, we're going to then have heat that's going to be delivered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How good is that? Now, I tell you, how good is that? Obviously, over time, this will start to break down and will actually sink down. I've got a mile of it up there. I can just top it up and keep going. All you've got to do to keep the bacterial action going is just add some water every now and again, because the bacteria that does the work for you needs water and oxygen. You give it that and it will munch away on this stuff all day long. Now look at the temperature we've got inside of this thing here, and it's only 24 hours, and look at the temperature, look at it here, and this is in Fahrenheit. I got this gauge from the USA, 142 degrees and increasing. Now, up in our pile in the front yard that's been lying there now for about 5 days, I guess, the temperature inside that is now 160 degrees Fahrenheit. In centigrade, that's about 71 degrees. 140 is around about 61, 62 degrees C. Now, that is scalding hot. You could not, if we brought water out at that temperature, you tried to have a shower, you couldn't do it, you'd get scalded. That's how hot it is. And that's how hot it is now. Now, yesterday afternoon, I just started pumping water through here. I only finished this yesterday afternoon. And when we loaded this compost material back in, we watered it down so it was just at ambient temperature. And this has happened in less than, well, getting close to 24 hours. We've now got this kind of internal temperature in the stack. Don't you think that's absolutely amazing? And as it increases, we will get more and more heat out of it. And I expect over a 3 or 4 day period, we'll be able to heat that Indy 23 system up to the 25 degrees C, which is where I want it to be. And all I've got to do then is just keep pumping the water through it, just running a pump. How good is that?